Football has a way of producing false promises. You see certain players break out early and you're so sure that they'll surely go on to become superstars and absolutely dominate the sport for years to come, but things just don't always end up following that script. Who are some of the guys whose careers have gone this way? That's exactly what we'll be talking about in this video today. These are 10 players who are not as great as everyone thought they would be. We'll start with Eduardo Camavinga. When he broke out as a teenager, everyone was so sure he was going to dominate the sport for years to come. He made his professional debut at 16, becoming the youngest player in Rennes history. He would go on to become the youngest player to provide an assist in Ligue 1 history and the youngest to win the UNFP Player of the Month award. Real Madrid saw this and signed him when he was just 18 years old, and everyone was sure that that was the beginning of a great career. But things have not exactly panned out that way. Even with Modric, Casemiro and Kroos now gone, Camavinga has still not been able to establish himself as a regular starter. He is obviously very talented and technically superior to many of his peers, but that hasn't exactly translated to greatness. Yes, he already has an enviable cabinet which includes 2 Champions League titles, but we expected that Camavinga would be one of the outright best players in the world at this stage of his career, but that simply isn't the case right now. Now, from a current Real Madrid man, let's talk about a former one, Mariano Diaz. When he came up from the Real Madrid academy, many had high hopes for him. He was skillful, fast, and had this superstar aura about him. The expectations were so high that the club thought him worthy of inheriting the precious number 7 jersey from Cristiano Ronaldo. And then he had that goal against Barcelona from off the bench, and it looked like this guy was the absolute truth. Well, it just didn't happen for him. For whatever reason, Mariano just wasn't able to hack it at the top level, and Vini came up and ended up being everything we thought Mariano would be. Now, what about Krzysztof Piatek? Do you guys remember him? He signed for Genoa in 2018, and as a 23-year-old striker, he took the entire world by storm. He scored 4 goals on his club debut, 1 on his Serie A debut, and just would not stop scoring after that. He became the first player in nearly 20 years to score 5 goals in his first 4 Serie A appearances, and then the first player in 23 years to score in each of his first 7 Serie A appearances. He had the best start to the season by a debutant in the Italian top flight in nearly 70 years. That season, Piatek became the first player across Europe's top 5 leagues to reach 10 goals. And at that point, we were all starting to get very used to that famous gun celebration. It was such an incredible start to life in Italy that Milan couldn't even wait until the end of the season. They signed him just 6 months after he had initially moved to Genoa, and we all thought it was going to be up, and away from there. And well, it started out that way. He became the first Milan player to score in each of his first 3 Serie A starts in 6 years. But things quickly got bad, and just a year later, he was out of Milan. He moved to Hertha Berlin, and things just started to go downhill from there. With how he started, we all thought Piatek could go on to become one of the top strikers of his generation, but he's now plying his trade in the Qatar Stars League at the age of 30.
Football's more than a game. It's passion, pride, glory. This World Cup season, Goal90 brings you our biggest offer yet. Buy 3 jerseys and get 1 free. That's 4 jerseys for the price of 3. And yes, free worldwide shipping. This is a limited time World Cup special, only until the 10th of May. So move fast. Pick your jerseys. Wear your passion. Own the moment before they're gone. Visit Goal90 shop. Link in the description.
Another striker everyone thought would be great is Dusan Vlahovic. At Fiorentina, he was an absolute beast. In the 2020-21 season, he was named Serie A Best Young Player. The next season was even better. That was when he started to get into conversations with the greats. He hit 33 Serie A goals in the year 2021, which made him the only player to do that since 1951, alongside Cristiano Ronaldo. Also at that point, he had scored 38 goals in a season and a half at Fiorentina, which was more than any other active player got during that same period. He was also the only player born after the year 2000 to hit at least 40 goals in Europe's top 5 leagues along with Erling Haaland. These were the conversations Vlahovic was getting into at Fiorentina, and it was expected that he would absolutely tear things apart once he moved to Juventus for €70 million. But things didn't exactly play out that way. He has now gone from being a potential world beater to being just another guy. This is surely not how everyone thought his career would pan out. And from a current Juventus player to a former one, let's talk about Paulo Dybala. Has he had a good career? He definitely has. But let's face it, about 10 years ago, everyone thought that Dybala would end his career as an all-timer, but things just didn't turn out that way for him. At Juventus, he was a real magician. He came close to leading Juventus to an unprecedented European treble in 2017, but he and his Juventus side were stopped by Real Madrid in the Champions League final. We thought that he could do more from that point, but it felt like that was the height of his career. Of course, injuries didn't help, but the reality is that almost everyone expected Dybala to end up as a much greater player than he is right now. And Joao Felix is another player who's very similar to Dybala in so many ways. When he broke out as a teenager at Benfica, he was super special. He became the youngest player to score a hat-trick in Europa League history and was second for most goal involvements among teenagers in Europe's top 7 leagues that season. And he also won the Golden Boy award that year, so everyone naturally expected him to go on and dominate world football for years to come. But from being the second most expensive teenager in football history and 4th most expensive player ever, he is now playing in the Saudi Pro League at the age of 26. Many people said that his fatal mistake was choosing Atleti as his first destination after leaving Benfica. But he has had chances to rebuild his career since then. He has played for Chelsea, Barcelona and Milan, but he still has not been able to reach those heights expected of him. And speaking of former Chelsea players reminds us of Billy Gilmour. You guys remember that FA Cup game against Liverpool in 2020 where he absolutely dominated things in a man-of-the-match performance? It feels like so long ago now, doesn't it? He would then make a first Premier League start later that week where he produced another man-of-the-match performance against Everton. Those 2 games convinced everyone that he was going to be a really top player. He was already being called the future of the Chelsea midfield. But then his momentum was brought to a halt by the COVID break and then a subsequent knee injury. By the summer of 2021, he was on his way to Norwich City. A year after that, he was off to Brighton, and now he's at Napoli. It's actually not a bad career to be fair, but after those games against Liverpool and Everton, we surely expected that he'd be greater than he currently is. Next, let's talk about Douglas Costa. During his days at Bayern, he was genuinely one of the scariest wingers in the world. Under Pep, he got a lot of freedom and really enjoyed himself terrorizing defenders. Everyone thought that this was the next superstar from Brazil. He was exciting, entertaining and effective. But when Carlo Ancelotti became Bayern coach, the story changed completely. The Italian boss started to play him less and less and Costa became unhappy. On top of that, injuries started to trouble him and things just went downhill from that point on. He moved to Juventus and then back to Bayern, but he was unable to hit those levels we saw from him during his first season at Bayern. Right now, he plays in the 4th tier of Italian football, and that is surely not how we thought his career would pan out. Another player everyone thought would be greater is Thomas Lemar. Back when AS Monaco was churning out top talents like Mbappe, Bernardo Silva, Fabinho and the likes, everyone thought that Lemar's career would follow that same path. He had so much potential that in 2017, Liverpool and Arsenal were so interested in him. Liverpool put a £65 million bid for him, which was rejected, and then Arsenal put a €100 million bid for him later that same summer. That one wasn't rejected, but the whole thing fell through because the offer came too late on deadline day. He would end up moving to Atleti the following year for €70 million, but he was just unable to reach that level of greatness everyone thought he was capable of at the beginning of his career. Now, he's out on loan at Girona, where he has managed only 3 goals all season. Finally, Renato Sanches was certainly supposed to be a great player. He had a very special 2016. At Euro 2016, he broke Cristiano Ronaldo's records to be the youngest player to ever be selected for a major tournament for Portugal and also the youngest to ever start in one. He was named Man of the Match in multiple games in that tournament and was also named Young Player of the Tournament after he helped Portugal win their first ever major trophy. What followed was an €80 million move to Bayern Munich that summer, becoming the most expensive Portuguese player to leave the Portuguese league. We thought he was about to blow up into one of the best midfielders of his generation, but he didn't even come close to that. After just 1 season at Bayern, he was off to Swansea City. PSG decided to give him another shot in 2022, but he still wasn't able to elevate to that level of greatness everyone thought he was capable of. Right now, this one-time Golden Boy winner is playing in the Greek league in the prime of his career. Now, are there more players who are not as great as everyone thought they would be? Tell us in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, turn on the bell notification so you never miss out on new content. Catch you in the next one. Bye!